In the world of the new DC movie, Black Adam, a lot of new characters are being introduced to mainstream audiences, including many characters in the Black Adam mythos, as well as many members of the Justice Society. The Justice Society is a precursor to the modern-day Justice League and has had many notable members over the years, including previously explored characters like Black Adam, Cyclone, and Atom Smasher. For this video, I'll be taking a look at Dr. Fate, who, unlike some of the other members of the Justice Society, has a long history and is one of the oldest characters in comic books. Pierce Brosnan will be playing Kent Nelson, aka Dr. Fate, in a new film, and unlike many of the cast, is an experienced and beloved actor, most notable for his roles in the James Bond films. Just as with my Sandman series, I want to give you guys some background on the characters in the new film, Black Adam. So who is Dr. Fate? That's usually the question I answer in these videos, but unlike some other characters I've explored, the answer isn't so simple with Dr. Fate, for a couple reasons, which I will get into in a second. I want to preface this with my goal for my recent series of videos. I know not everyone is aware of the long history of these characters, especially with DC. Many of these DC characters themselves have a 40-year plus history, and that's a lot. So when making these videos, I want to introduce the basics, enough to give you a sense of who these characters are, while leaving you with great stories that you can read and watch on your own. That's not to say in the future I won't do more in-depth deep dives, but I know how busy life can get, and I still want to provide these more self-contained videos for you guys as the audience. But why am I saying this, especially now? I mean, Black Adam had many appearances and stories I didn't talk about, and so did Atom Smasher. But Dr. Fate has appeared semi-regularly in DC Comics for decades, and in true DC fashion, there are multiple versions of the characters. But unlike some of the other characters, these versions are successors to one another, existing within the same Earth and continuity. Dr. Fate's history is complex and involved, so for the sake of this, I'll focus on the most famous version of the character, and the one that Pierce Brosnan will portray in the new film, that being Kent Nelson. Kent Nelson is the most well-known Dr. Fate, and first appeared in More Fun Comics in May of 1940 in his own self-titled comic strip. In 1920, Kent Nelson, along with his archaeologist father, Sven Nelson, investigate a temple in the Ur Valley of Mesopotamia. While exploring, Kent opens up the tomb of Nabu, which releases a toxic gas that kills his father Sven. Nabu, upon being released, feels sorry for Kent and begins to teach him in the way of magic. He ages Kent into a full-grown adult, and over the next 20 years trains him before finally granting him the helmet of Nabu, the amulet of Anubis, and the cloak of destiny. Using these items and his training, Nelson, now Dr. Fate, begins his crime-fighting career, setting up his base in Salem, Massachusetts, in what is sometimes called the Tower of Fate. Dr. Fate is a founding member of the Justice Society of America and has served on the team many times in addition to 10 years on the Justice League of America. Dr. Fate is one of the most powerful magic users in the DC universe. Oftentimes, he is compared to his Marvel counterpart, Doctor Strange, for that reason. He has a similar power set to that of Strange, including the mastery of magic, flight, healing abilities, and powers over certain aspects of nature. The artifacts he uses largely bolster his power, allowing him to open up a pocket dimension, communicate with the dead, as well as immortality and a fair bit of invulnerability. However, he is much weaker when not wearing the helmet. As far as Kent Nelson goes, he's nothing to sneeze at, as he is a trained doctor, an archaeologist, and due to the magic provided by Nabu, his body is at its peak in regard to his mental and physical abilities. Much like Strange, Dr. Fate is a core component of the magical side of DC Comics, often appearing in many of the crossover events, both in relation to magic, but also in many of the big universal events like the Crisis events. But unlike Doctor Strange, Dr. Fate has a dark side to his character in direct relation to his powers, specifically with his connection to Nabu. Before continuing, if you're enjoying this video, hit that like button, and for more DC videos, including my Black Adam primer, check out my channel. But for now, let's get back to Dr. Fate. Earlier I mentioned that Nabu and Dr. Fate had a dark side to them, and let me clarify, it's not that either of these characters are villains, but rather, it's Nabu's tendency to take control of Nelson's body in order to accomplish his goals. But in order to understand this dynamic, it's important to know a little bit about Nabu, because I do think it's going to play a part in the way DC presents a character in a new movie. I mentioned earlier that Nabu was found in the tomb in Mesopotamia. That is because he's a Lord of Order. The Lords of Order are a group of deities who will do anything in their power to defeat the Lords of Chaos. Because of this drive to defeat Chaos, Nabu is often seen as cold and uncaring of others in his pursuit of this goal. Due to this, one of the major aspects of Dr. Fate's character is that often Nabu will take over Nelson's body and gain total control of him, allowing him to walk the earth as he once did 4,000 years ago. The problem with this is that he does this often without the consent of Nelson, to the point that Nelson at times switches to use of half of the helmet in order to avoid this. Although Nabu is true in his attempt to battle the forces of evil, his methods are questionable at best. Yet, this duality is one of the more interesting aspects to the character, and I do hope that the new movie introduces this into the DCEU mythos. Like many other characters in the DCEU movies, Dr. Fate has been used in other media over the years. In fact, the Nelson version of Fate has appeared on many TV shows, both animated and live action, as well as a couple video games. He's made multiple appearances in the DC Animated Universe Continuity and Superman the Animated Series, as well as Justice League the Animated Series, voiced by Oded Fehr, whom you guys might know from the Mummy series.
I told you to leave or die.
One of the more notable story arcs was in the Justice League Unlimited series, where he, Hawkgirl, Aquaman, and Solomon Grundy try to kill one of the old ones, Cthulhu, who is causing trouble on the Earth plane, but ends with a heartbreaking moment where Grundy dies. He appeared in many other non-DCEU series, including Batman Brave and the Bold, Young Justice, Justice League Action, as well as animated features including Justice League New Frontier and the recent Justice Society World War. He has appeared in several video games as well, including Injustice 2, DC Universe Online, LEGO Batman 3 Beyond Gotham, and LEGO DC Supervillain. As far as live action though, he's appeared in Smallville and the DC Universe series Stargirl as a member of the Justice Society of America and the Kent Nelson persona. Dr. Fate is one of those characters that, like Doctor Strange, could be used in bit parts and major parts in movies across the DCEU, even in scenes where heroes are looking for information or assistance in a case they're working on. Additionally, having Pierce Brosnan in the role really brings some gravitas to the characters that could connect with audiences both old and young. This is probably the character I'm most looking forward to seeing next to Black Adam, so I hope they do him justice and integrate him into future movies in the DCEU. Let me know what you guys think of Dr. Fate, and if you'd be interested in a deep dive into the comic history of the character. But for now, take care and have an awesome day. Why stop here? Check this video out for more DC stories.